Well, hello everyone and welcome to Diamond Art with Del. Today I'm doing some resin pours and we're doing some fun Christmas ones. These are 3 I'm doing today, and I'm doing 2 really big baubles, as you can see there. One has got some trees and some beautiful moonscapes, another reindeer, and this one on the end is going to be my topper for my tree. It's actually supposed to be for like sun catchers and things like that, but I'm going to turn that one into a topper for my tree because I decided to do a nice green sparkly themed tree and I needed a green topper. So today all my pieces are going to be with a green tone theme. So I'm just going through a few of the products I'm going to be adding. I'll be using this as my measuring tool, and I'm going to mix up some resins and add some of these wonderful little pieces and create these fun resin Christmas ornaments for you guys today in this video. So firstly, I'm going to add some of this very special paper. It's got like a beautiful sparkly metallic side on one page and the other side sort of a little bit more plain. So I'm turning them over because everything facing down is what I'm going to see on the face of my finished piece. On the other bauble, I've got some metallic type stones, I suppose you would call these ones. So these are sort of some silver and they're quite heavy little pieces. So they're going to sink probably to the bottom. So I'm going to add them in here and hopefully they'll move a little bit once I put the resin, but not too much. Now I pre-mixed all my resin because that was going to be easier to make this video. I've added a 1-to-1 ratio resin into here by volume. Mixed that up thoroughly so it's nice and clear, and then I added some of the coloured ink. I used a green, and then I've also added some green glitter, and that's what I've got in that pot there. So I'm going to pour that over those papers. Now they will probably move a little bit, I expected, but I wanted to put them basically where I want them to be. And I'm pouring the green sparkly beautiful sparkle resin over the tree area, and I'm also going to try and push that around with my stick to the top circle of this bauble, I suppose you call it, and I'm going to also try to move it up into the trees as well. So I'm just being very careful not to get it onto the other part because this will be poured into 2 sections. So I will pour this green area, and then once this hardens I will come back and do a second section later on in the video, and I'll show you that once we get to that stage. So I'm just adding that right around the edge and just being very careful as I pour into these trees. I don't want to overflow because I'm trying not to get onto, as I say, that center part at this stage with the green. I really like actually the colored inks because it has nice sort of clear sort of color to it, to the resin. I quite like the look of those. So I kind of like them, I suppose, different sort of texture to the mica powders I found. So I like that with the glitters. It's a nice soft sort of effect. So I'm just pushing that resin around to make sure I get into all those little grooves, and sort of just trying to eliminate any cases of bubbles around the edges and gaps and things like that, because I don't want to have big gaps and broken bubble areas around when I pop these things. Pushing that in there. And you can sort of manipulate those pieces of paper, I suppose you'd call it, special paper, around to where I wanted them as well, so they wouldn't overlap, so they would look nice as well and decorate the trees. Now for the reindeer, I'm going to use, again, the green resin. It's got a beautiful sparkle. and shimmer to it. And you can sort of see where I placed some of those little silver flakes throughout the edge here. And now I'm going to do the same thing where I'm going to just pour in the green. And I'm going to go right around the edge, just carefully. And I'm just going to pour it all around to the base, covering all the little silver bits. Now you could probably mix that in with your resin if you wanted to, but because I was using this base resin for the two different pieces, and I was going to have two different additives, that's why I decided I would try putting my special pieces in onto the actual molds rather than mixing into your resin. But you could definitely just mix it into your resin if you want to do it that way, if you're just doing the one piece. But because I was using the same resin for two different items, basically, is why I decided to put those special pieces into the molds that way. Now I'm just adding some of this green, some of the different greens and things. So this one's got a beautiful clear green going into the reindeer. Now these antlers were really, really fine, so I had to sort of just drag the resin up into them. It was very tricky not to get them to overflow, but to get the actual resin in there as well. So I was just trying to do my best not to overflow them, but unfortunately I think I had a little bit in the end, but it's not noticeable. So I was trying my best here. But I'm getting a nice good coverage, just making sure there's no gaps and bubbles around those edges. And I say, just making sure that I'm getting a good coverage all around and moving those little bits of glittery silver things as well into where I want them at this stage. There we go. So they're looking pretty cool. Now, for my fairy moon, I suppose you would call her, so she's going to go on the top of my tree. So she's going to be just one big pour, so she's going to just be one piece. I'm not going to have to do double layers like I will with the other two. So this one I decided on adding the green with glitter into this part of the fairy because I thought that was really, really pretty. It looked very effective. And I thought with her wings and everything, it would look beautiful if she had some sparkle. So I gave her a really beautiful green sparkly look in her wings. And then traced that up around to the moon. I thought the moon needed a bit of bling basically, so I thought I'd give it a bit of moonshine. And here I've got some holographic glitter I'm just adding there, and it's got an octagonal cut to it, sorry. So I've spread quite a bit into the mould, as again I was using some base mixed resins. So instead of adding all my glitters to all the resins, I was sort of just popping them into the moulds. This is just the clear I had set aside. I hadn't mixed anything into that yet. So I was popping just a bit of clear at the top of the mould just to sort of, I think I was trying to see if I can get sort of a blending effect into it to sort of give it a smooth silver moon, I suppose, if you like to call it that. So I was trying to get some of the sparkles to sort of blend away onto that stage on that side. I thought I'd add a few little sparkles into the star she had as well. So I just popped a bit of glitter into her little star that she was holding, and very carefully try and add a little bit of resin, just clear resin, into there as well. And really pushing that into that star mould because It's an odd shape, and I really wanted to make sure that resin was getting into all those little gaps as well. Now I believe this one is, I'm pouring a bit of the clear green into the middle of the moon. So I've got a sparkly green. This one is the clearer green that I was using for the actual reindeer. And I'm just sort of blending that into the clear top part of the moon, and then again around to where the glitter is and that, and filling up that area. Topping up the mould to make sure it's nice and full. As I said, I'm not doing this one in layers or anything. This is going to just be one big finish pour, and it's done. So I've got green glitter resin, plain green resin, using clear resin, adding my holographic glitters, and of course there's green glitter as well in this one. So lots of nice sparkle. And yeah, it's beautiful. Absolutely coming up beautiful. I really like the green. It's a very different colour to use for this sort of, I suppose, design or mould. A little bit just a different style. I don't know why I'm feeling for the green this year, but it's just something that's very, I don't know, it just peels at the moment. So I thought it was very pretty. Just a few adjustments, trying to move some of the glitters through. I have a real trouble trying not to stop poking at it and adding more and moving things around. Bit of a dribble. Oops. Again, I want to fill the mould up, but I don't want to overfill it. And I really want to get a good mix of glitter going through on the other side, because that will be my face of my design. And although this will probably be technically a two-sided piece, you'll be able to see it from both sides in a way. I'll have definitely one side I want to focus on and make sure it looks really, really effective. So I decided I wanted to add some more glitter onto this side, because a lot of it, as I say, I've mixed in to sort of give a nice, hoping to get a really nice look on the other side of the pour. So I thought I'll add a few more flakes of this beautiful holographic glitter onto here, onto this side of the moon, because I thought it was very pretty, and hoping that would give a good effect as well. So I want the moon to look really shimmery and pretty. And I like these big flakes of glitter. They look really, really effective. There we go. Just trying to use up the last of that resin, I think, in that one, because I've used all the green I wanted for the other two. So I'm just trying to fill up this as much as I can, this mould. So I don't like to waste it. But I think I'm pretty much at the point now where it was fairly full. Now I make sure before I start and where I put my moulds on my table, I just get a leveling tool and level out my table. And I use like little wooden chocks, basically, little wooden pieces of wood. And I'll put that underneath the legs of my table and get to square it out to make sure it's nice and level. So when I'm putting my moulds on my table, when I let them set, they should set nice and flat. Because even though this is a self-leveling type resin and so forth, if your surface is uneven, your resin will set uneven, of course, and will sort of flow. So I try to make sure everything sets nice and flat by squaring out my table and get my little tools out and things like that too before I even start. That was probably the first thing I do before I even start pouring my resins and things like that, is I make sure my table is nice and, yeah, nice and flat and level. Now I'm going to add a little bit of clear and glitter into the moon of this one. So I'll have to give it a nice silvery moon into this little gap. And then this one has got its base layer all done as well. Now I noticed that my resin's starting to get a little bit tacky at that stage, so I was finishing off, just running everything over with a lighter just to get any bubbles out. And just quickly just trying to move that across the resin fairly quickly and just popping any little bubbles that's on the surface there. Alright, so we're done that part. Now these have set and hardened, so now I'm up to the second layer for the bubbles. So I've come back the next day and now I'm going to do, as I said, the next layer of resin. So I'm adding some beautiful little star glitter, and then I poured, what I'm pouring on now is a mix of 1:1 ratio by volume resin, and what I did was I mixed in some mica powder just to give it some shimmer. It's got a very, it's well, it's sort of a white, I suppose, but anyway, I'll show you once I get my hand out of the road. I'm a big buff hand in the road there, so you can't see much at the moment. But what happened was with this one, I mixed up the resin, and then, well, what can we say? Life's happened, and I had to sort of pause. And unfortunately, my resin started to set, so it was a little bit tacky for this. But I still needed to use the resin because, well, I had it all mixed up. So in this one, it's a little tacky because the resin had been sitting just a little bit longer than it should have. But yeah, I tried to save it, and it just needed just a little bit of encouragement, let's put it that way, to move into place. So usually your resin would pour into this mold a lot more smoother than what I'm using now, but because unfortunately things happen and you have to stop at the worst times, I had to come back to my project, and unfortunately my resin was starting to set, but I was at a stage where I thought I could still save it enough for the project, and yeah, it was just barely savable. So what we could say, gambled and decided to place it onto my mold, and yeah, I got it on there just, but you can see it's really tacky and not really ideal to work with. So yeah, this one I just mixed up with just a little bit of white mica powder, and it's sort of got a bit of a pearlized effect to it, so it looks really pretty. But yeah, give it sort of a nice white snowy background I was hoping for. Trying to push the resin back up in there, sort of really struggling, aren't I? I think it's a good thing I didn't have the audio on for that day. Oh dear, I think I might have got censored. Oh, that was terrible. It was very hard to try and work. I didn't want to dump it, but yeah, it was terrible to work with. But anyway, lucky I was only a small amount I had mixed up. Just cleaning up some of the edges, because as I said, it's sort of trying to spread it out with my stick there. It was going everywhere, but anyway, I managed. I've got it on there. Now for the other bauble, I'm going to do a similar technique where I'm going to add some glitters into the background. I just dumped a whole heap then. It doesn't matter. They sort of spread out fairly well once you put your resin in. But it does stick rather well to these moulds. These moulds are absolutely beautiful. These two here that you can see on the screen I got from RiotArt Studio, and they are absolutely beautiful. I bought a heap from there, and I mean they are expensive like that compared to some other moulds, but definitely worth the money. Big difference when you're working with it. You really do notice it. It's beautiful. I love them. I want to make more, but I've really run out of time this year. But I think I might even thinking about a traditional thing where I can come back and do them every year. Now you can see here where I've mixed another lot of resin, the same sort, 1-to-1 ratio, using the same mica powders, exactly the same as what I did on the reindeer. But this one is fresh and ready to go, and you can see the texture is so much better. It's actually moving off the stick. It can actually pour, and I can actually show you how this one will actually come out of the container, how it should come out of a container and move. In fact, I think it actually moved probably better than it probably should have. And I remember to actually spray this one with some isopropyl alcohol as well, which also helps reduce bubbles and things like that. So it also helped that the surface was a little slick, and yeah, and that actually also helped move the resin around into place. But this one was so much easier and so much better, more fun to pour as well. So that went on really easy. And looks really nice too. Again, just using my stick to get right up onto the edges to make sure there's no gaps. Making sure I'm really full right to the edge without overfilling, hopefully. Okay, so we're here with the next day and we're ready to demold these two. I've got my beautiful reindeer, which we're going to do first, and then we're going to do the beautiful tree bauble. They look gorgeous on the back. They've come up really smooth and lovely. Having a look coming out of the mould, it's nice and easy. A little bit of edge there. I'm going to just clean them up simply with a little bit of overpour. But wow, these moulds are beautiful. They've got this beautiful flecker of Aurora Borealis on them, so that's going to make the resin look gorgeous. And just have a look at this. This is absolutely stunning. Oh my goodness, look at this. Beautiful Christmas bauble. It has turned out absolutely stunning. So much beautiful glitter, so much sparkle. Oh, I love it. That is absolutely beautiful. And to have such a unique piece for the Christmas tree that just suits the actual theme that we're doing is absolutely wonderful. I love it. That looks gorgeous. Now the reindeer I was a bit worried about because of the antlers. I thought that had a bit of green overpour and I thought it was going to come through the background too much, but in fact it didn't. It actually, the white has covered it really well, so I'm really pleased with that one. The other one is the trees, and I'm going to say that was, the one that had the really good resin on the back, so I didn't have to worry too much. I didn't think with this one. So yeah, if the reindeers turned out that good, I think this one's going to turn out even better. I don't know why. But so easy to remove from these moulds. They feel so good. They're thick, they're heavy, but very good quality. Easy to remove. Oh wow, look at this. The beautiful colours. Absolutely clean as a whistle. Look at that. And the resin, that is awesome. Love the final piece. Look at the shine, the sparkle, and that paper. I don't know what it's called. It's got a special name. But yeah, that looks so effective in the trees. I really like that look. The colours are great. I like the colour the green ink has created amongst there, and the simple white background. Oh, I love this. It's looking great. Little moonscape with the trees. Oh, they look great together. What a nice pair. Okay, it's time to demold this beautiful green angel. She's got all her beautiful glitter in there. She's looking very sparkly. I couldn't figure this out before. It's a bit of the silicone mould sitting in there, but that's all right. I end up having a couple little bubbles on her star. I don't know how they happen, but anyway, they kind of look like a little bit of an effect apparently, so I don't mind that. That's probably the best spot a bubble could happen. It just looks a little bit fairy tale. So yeah, nice and thick, heavy pour. Like this one was just one solid piece, and I didn't have to worry about doing a second layer. So we're going to take this one out of the mould now and see what we've got. Now this mould I just got off Amazon or somewhere like that, so it's a very thin silicone mould. It's very floppy. It has a very strange texture, to be honest. It's not very well made or cut out well. So yeah, very different texture and feel to this one. But it is coming away from my resin quite reasonable. I'm not having too much trouble. Now these delicate little areas here, I like to go just a little bit slower because you can see there's a little bit of flexibility there around her hand. And I don't want to break that off. It's a very fine piece. Moving around her head and all that. But it is coming away nicely. Coming around the back of the body there. And she's out of the mould. So there you go. So that is the mould. As you can see, it's a lot different texture and style. It's a very thin sort of type resin, silicone. And this is our finished piece. It looks pretty darn groovy. Oh my goodness, look at those beautiful green sparkle. I love that. And the glitter looks beautiful in the moon. I love this up here. It all travels right down to the fine glitter. And for the other side, oh wow, look at that. That looks pretty darn neato as well. I really like this one. What a different topper this is going to be for the tree. So this is what I'm going to put on the top of my Christmas tree, because I said I'm doing a green theme for some reason this year. Everything went on there went green. I have a white tree, so you can do that. Otherwise it sounds probably funny that I've said I've got all green on my tree, but yeah, I've got one of those white trees so that we can decorate it in color themes. And yeah, so this year we did an all green type themed tree, so I needed a topper, so I made this. Isn't she pretty? She's got all her beautiful glitter. I don't know which side I like better, this one or the other. Yeah, she is my angel for my tree. Pretty neato. I love how the glitter sits in this resin. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. That's beautiful. So I've got 3 beautiful pieces for my Christmas tree that I'm really, really happy with. Yeah, I must say I'm quite astounded at how well I've done with these pieces, and I'm very, very happy with my end results. Yeah, I think I've done pretty well. Got pretty much 3 out of 3 out of these guys. A few little hiccups along the way, but you know what? I'm really, very happy with my end results on all 3 of my projects. I think they've turned out pretty darn great, and I'm very happy, and they're definitely going on the Christmas tree, and I'm going to, yeah, decorate them up and finish them up. So I'll put a couple of images of the baubles with their ties on there and so forth, and even one of the lady, and I'll do one of the angel on the top of the tree for you guys too, I think, as well. Why not? And yeah, you can check those out at the end of the video. And yeah, I'll just say thank you so much for watching. I do hope you enjoyed this one. This is a little bit different resin Christmas fun workshop video, I guess, whatever you like to call it. but I thought you might enjoy watching some of the Christmas crafty fun I made with these 3 different pieces, or different molds I should say, resin crafts I was going to make for Christmas. It's a bit of Christmas fun, and I hope everyone has a wonderful Christmas, whatever you're doing. Stay safe, be well. I'll see you in my next video, and thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for everything this year, and have a great one. Bye everyone. Bye for now. Thank you so much for watching.